boot, 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 bobbing along. Hi, we're Stuart and Emmie, and we've lived on our 57-foot narrowboat with a Marinised Peugeot engine for 2 years. We're currently heading to Sheffield so we can be near my granny, which means we plan to head up the tidal Trent. In our previous video we were just about to do that when we broke down. 3 engineers later, it was confirmed that we shouldn't drive any further and that our engine should be replaced. But we can't replace our engine on a pontoon, and we're stuck in the middle of nowhere just by Cromwell Lock where the Trent turns tidal. We're so lucky that we met Trevor and Amanda, who very kindly towed us alongside them back to Newark.
Trevor and Amanda pulled up beside us, tied on, and before long we were off on our way back to Newark.
Side by side.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I remember, the current...
There was actually a whole group of people with us as Trevor and Amanda and their friends were having a little flotilla holiday up the Trent. We're getting towed alongside, and Annie is like that. It's weird and unsettling. I've just come in because I forgot to put on sun cream, so I'm doing that. Yeah, really lovely couple who are towing us. Thank you if you're watching, and hopefully we're going to get moored up in the pontoons in Newark while we sort ourselves out and decide where we go next and what we do. So we were finally on our way in our little flotilla back to Newark. It was nice to be heading back to some sort of degree of civilization, even though Cromwell Lock was beautiful. When we were close enough, I finally used my marine radio and radioed the lock to let them know our situation and that we were on our way. They asked for the single boats to go on ahead and just basically get in position for once we arrived. Towing puts extra strain on an engine, particularly as this was also going upstream on the River Trent. We did offer to reimburse them somehow, but they asked us just to pay it forwards, so we'll remember that when we see a boat in trouble.
We would have anyway.
Yeah. Trevor did a great job getting us into the lock and bringing 30-ish tons of boats to a stop without really hitting the walls at all. I was very impressed. Then it was my job to keep those boats pulled over to one side as we went up the lock. We were hoping we'd only have that one lock to get up because that was hard work. Hopefully Newark Kiln pontoons would be fairly empty just so that we had space to sort out, well, so that everyone could moor and we could sort out our stricken vessel. We got very lucky and the whole pontoon was free, so everyone could moor up and we could manoeuvre Annie off of Trevor's boat. Turns out really quite hard to pull in a unpowered boat from a tow, and it took all of us just to pull her back in. But in the end, we got there safely with the help of some very kind people.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Boop! So the past couple of days has been spent in just making lots of phone calls, trying to make plans and organising things, because we were thinking, at first we were hoping that Newark Marina could do the work because it's really close, but they don't really focus on narrow boats, and they've got really busy books, and they just said no, but they could help us come out of the water and be transported somewhere else. So then we were looking at maybe going back to Red Hill and being in that field of boats and having the work done there. But ultimately we've decided the best plan is to move the boat closer to Sheffield, and so we will be having the boat taken out of the water at Newark and then transported by road, which is absolutely terrifying to think of poor Annie on the A1.
Yeah.
But she'll be transported by road to a marina near Doncaster. So we'd only be a couple of days cruise from Sheffield once everything would be fixed at that point. So we're just about gotten to the stage where we're just getting a date booked in for that. We've chosen a transportation company, and it's just finalising the dates.
Yeah, we think we've definitely got a marina that's going to put us back in the water, and most likely where we'll be for a few weeks while the work gets done. A few weeks, probably a month or so, while the work gets done.
And Stu's chatting with someone that Trevor, who towed the boat, highly recommended, having just had a new engine and skin tank fitted. So things are in progress, and our moods have been a bit up and down since all this happened. Yeah. We've had days where we just feel a bit stressed and worrying. I mean, luckily. So to buy this boat, we sold our flat, and the money from the flat covered the boat, and then we set money aside for if anything like this were to happen, as well as the fact that I left my job so that we could relocate up to Sheffield and to be able to do that slowly. So we have got just about enough to cover this. So, you know, it's still stressful knowing this huge amount of money is going to be going out, but we have it, you know? So we've had moments of just stressing about that, it's just an enormous amount of money to us, even though we've had it set aside. But then other times where we've had trouble with this engine. We didn't realise, we were naive when we bought the boat, although we've been saying, actually, you know, the most important thing when you buy a boat is that the hull is sound.
Yeah.
The engine can be changed. We're changing the engine now. I've lost my train of thought there. But
we wouldn't change anything.
Yeah,
basically.
Essentially we love Annie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were naive and didn't realise what a weird engine that was and how difficult it would be to look after, and that it had been badly installed when we bought the boat.
The biggest thing is that it had been badly installed. The skin tank that was in there is not really fit for purpose, and it's far too small capacity anyway. So the engine was never going to last that long, and I suspect whoever put it in, because they think it wasn't the original engine, just put it in to get the boat moving.
And it's done pretty well, really. I just kind of wish we'd done this sooner. But then, obviously, it is expensive, and you wouldn't just take a working engine out, would you? So, yeah, it is what it is.
But rather than...
Sorry,
I was going to say, rather than throwing more money at the engine, we figured it's probably cheaper in the long run to just look at sorting out the issues and sorting a new engine out.
So our mood's been going between stress and then just being like, we're prepared for this, and being like, we had this set aside, we knew this was an eventuality, really, and just getting on with the organising. It is just an awkward timing, right, just the timing is a bit awkward, and when we just had the blacking done, because the new skin tank's probably going to be installed on the outside of the boat,
Yeah.
ruining part of our new blacking. So that is...
I think what we can at least do, though, is we can just pick up some Jotum
and just
Mastiff
repaint
blacking
over there
and-
ourselves, yeah.
and at the end of the day, like, it's not ideal, but it is what it is. And I think our mood is actually, I think
We're
if this-
more up than down. Not up, but all right than
yeah,
down.
I think if this had happened a year ago or so, it probably would have knocked me personally more so. And it did knock me a bit initially. But now I'm just like, I think because I've got a bit of a challenge and a few things to get on with, I am stressing about that, but I'm not really crashing about the mood so much. I did have a period where I was blaming myself for the engine failing, and that's, actually it wasn't me. But even if it was me, it is our first boat. It's a bit of a learning curve, and it is an old engine as well. So yeah. We're not feeling too bad, and we're going to make the best of the situation. And since we are stuck in a historic and interesting market town,
Yeah, we've popped into Newark a couple of times and it seems really lovely. We haven't filmed anything yet, so we'll take you into Newark this afternoon. And if you've watched older vlogs, you might remember we tried to do a pig art trail when we were in Tamworth. That was really unsuccessful because I think most of the pigs had been removed. There's a book bench art trail here, so we'll be doing that as well as we go around Newark, and I'm excited. Picked up a little map, and there's a game in there where there's a letter on each book bench, so we can enter a competition if we get all the letters and get the hidden word.
this is new to me. I didn't know about the game.
Yeah, incentive to find every book.
You've just gone and done, don't you?
What's that?
You've made it a competition.
It is a competition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's have a bite to eat and then set off.
Hooray!
Yay!
Adventure! Thank you so much for watching. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. We hope you will join us next time for some book bench finding and a little explore of Newark. Thank you so much especially to Dave, Mike and Ria, Andrea, Carol and Dave, Wayne, Helen and Lely for the very generous Buy Me a Coffee donations. It really is appreciated, so thank you so much. We will see you next time, and we hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do boop the like button, chat with us in the comments below. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.